on that particular striker, and
we're
going Cape Blanc Observatory, so maybe, just maybe, I get my wish.
Let's see what Team MDY, Team Ty, how they like to use this ban pick here. Meta's been shifting. A lot of teams have been taking out Inferno early. Team MDY, they're thinking about it, considering their options.
You get some pretty crazy value out of Inferno.
Okay,
when we're on Cape Blanc.
All right. So just not wanting to deal with that heavy melee disruptor. Diving into your backline can be, super annoying, can be difficult. Team Ty thinking it over themselves. This is a Illuminate ban. They're thinking about it. Oh, trolling.
Okay, if they ban Falcon, they're picking Narukami.
Yeah, I mean, think about that with Elise's and potentially a Falcon out. Yes, Falcon. So it's going to be really hard to get on greedy backline snipers. Feels like Narukami could get a lot done here.
Yeah, being chased down by Falcon on this map is really, really rough. And I'm seeing Rokoko hover. Maybe not lock it in just yet, but the compositions are shaping up quite nicely. And looking over at the Luminays that will be run here as well, there will be a decent amount of support. What I'm also noticing is on the other side of this matchup for MDY, Mingyue considering the Panther. Also, a really good map to run Panther on is Cape Blanc.
Yeah, Panther and Aquila versus the Narukami Inferno. So, interesting to see. I think this will be a lot of pressure on Mingyue and Cuckoo to be able to deliver those early pickoffs, right? Panther could pull somebody out of position. Aquila could finish them off with that snipe damage from range. However, the question is, will they be able to do that with Narukami's stealth being such a big factor? Could be hard to actually get on top of that sniper to catch them out. And Cive on the Inferno should give an edge to Team Ty in terms of the raw tank damage trade, if he can stay alive long enough to do it.
Yeah, the Inferno being pressured is going to be a big deal, because there's not a lot of peel for Inferno given that Narukami's been selected, and it really will be our Inferno and Narukami together too much for somebody like Aquila to deal with. Cuckoo's going to have a lot of pressure on them to be putting the damage in the places where it matters most, because if you're sinking a bunch of damage into things like Welkin, Tricera, Stego, it's just not going to matter.
Team MDY versus Team Ty. This is their tournament lives on the line here. Best of 3 series. Lose a second map and you're going home empty-handed 0-2. Nobody wants to be in that position, so the pride is on the line here for both of these squads.
Taking a look at MDY and Ty. Like you said, tensions have got to be high coming into this. But the map already having begun. Watch Rokoko on the right-hand side of your screen, already setting up on the Narukami, unspotted as of yet, but ADSing onto Cuckoo, the focus for Narukami. If you can take a kill out of the skies, you have got a fantastic game ready in front of you.
Mingyue, aware of this flank, knows the pressure, and now diving onto the Narukami. Breaks a drone first, can't find the real one. Rokoko falling back, regrouping with the team. Mingyue thinks better of a chase into that dangerous scenario.
It may not be a Falcon, but Panther can be just as big of a problem for Narukami. Very squishy as the Narukami, and Panther can, if not one-shot, nearly one-shot Narukami. Seeing the box into the cap, though. This is looking pretty good. Not the cap actually going to come through for Feiju, but there's nothing to stop you from trying to get that again in 3 seconds when the box comes back up. Yeah,
Welkin's trading boxes on the cap. Both Welkins taking a lot of focus fire pressure from the other team. Feiju's going to go in for another attempt, but the Welkin mirror here, both dropping low. It's Team Ty committing everyone into the low ground. Will this work out for them, or they'll be able to start to take an advantage in this early trade? But already one goes down. Prize provides Shaman of Team MDY, so Team Ty up 1 in the engagement, but it's traded right back, so an even 5-on-5 for now.
Realistically, we are waiting until the second core at Extractor spawns. About to spawn in 10 seconds, and that's where we'll get to see teams split their attention. Maybe a little sneaky capture by Narukami. Feiju going to try and dismantle this now. Inferno should cause problems, but no! That's the first capture by MDY, and in the middle of everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, Team MDY, they found 3 pickoffs on Team Ty, so it's just too little too late. Now Panther chasing one more, would love to get a stagger onto Luminae. Luminae, though, seems to have dodged away for the moment. Opportunity for a quick cap. Welkins trading boxes, trading the gas here. No one able to capture this objective for now, but that early cap is pretty significant strategically. Team Ty still feels like reeling from that team wipe, and now it's snowballing even worse. Another pickoff. They're continuing to put the pressure on. Welkin, high armor, could really pour on the advantage.
Cuckoo actually getting the first pick is really good for MDY, just because it gives them a numbers advantage. Still no cap coming through, likely to be interrupted. Here I thought I was going to say that again and just watch Feiju do it in their faces.
I mean, when he gets the box up, though, I think this is very possible. They're keeping the damage pressure on and denying that cap from long range. But, oh, they do damage burn through that enemy Welkin box, so no cap yet coming in for MDY. They're in full control of this area, but they can't quite get the capture with the damage coming in on them.
6v6 again. We've got yet another elimination onto Team Tai. So MDY numbers advantage once again with Stego Shield and box available. That box does get popped a little too late, but it's not going to be early enough for this capture to be stopped. Fortunately enough, because 2 Korat Extractors were available, we do get that traded, so Tai keep themselves in the conversation. It is 2-1, not out of control by any means.
Yeah, Team Tai are probably going to be pretty happy to grab an objective with multiple players down. They need to get out, though. They need to take the reset. Mingwei pushing for more on this Panther. Would love to get into it, a big engagement here, get some value, but got to be careful on the Panther. It can be easy to overextend, easy to get too deep into the enemy team where you're not able to escape and fight another day. So Team Tai stabilizing decently well here. Mingwei gonna head through these Core 8 crystals, re-up on the armor.
And a lot of it is happening off screen, but Rokoku's been taken down a couple of times, and on the Narukami, that's something that you can't afford to be suffering at this point in the game. Now, with Feiju down, that's going to mean we've got no Welkin for a little while, maybe an opportunity to claim some points back for Team Tai.
Mingwei dives into the thick of it, though, gets heavily pressured, has to run for the hills right now. Team Tai dominating from the top of this hill, putting a ton of pressure downrange, but MDY are continuing to fight back. They're not giving up anything from tree. Kuku's Aquila continuing to keep the pressure on. And some players are dropping low for Team Tai, so it seems that the spam pressure from MDY is looking pretty solid for now, trying to deny the cap. But the cap is able to come in. Team Tai, with that Welkin box, able to secure another capture, even in this game up 2-2.
Civ A not quite landing long-range shots either, so Kuku not going to be shut down. And with the real trade on the extractors there, it does seem like these teams are at least dialed in enough to not let anybody get away with free objectives. Outside of that very first one that was taken by MDY, Korat extractors have largely been traded 1-for-1 as soon as 2 become available.
This is a moment for MDY to rotate around the map. Mingwei setting up a very wide flank. He may not be spotted here. Using that mobility from Panther, coming in over the top, see if he can pull somebody out of position. Being a distractor. Tai has a couple players with relatively low HP. They've got to be careful. MDY starting to put the pressure on, but Feiju very low, has to be careful.
Gonna go in and commit onto Akamane, even using the box right now. Spin not quite going to hit, however. Akamane will manage to stay alive on the low ground. Feiju gonna disengage, but that is his prize, and Kuku go down. Kuku on the Aquila, no longer in play as Tai trade 1-for-1. I'd say that Aquila is well worth it.
Feiju going for the box and the cap on the objective. No, just barely stopped in the last second. Feiju would have loved to grab that cap for the squad, but now sees an opportunity to turn for a kill. Very low mech on the side of Tai. Being bursted down, and so Team MDY up 2 here. 1 just respawned for Team Tai, but big tempo lead here for MDY. They look to potentially clean this fight up. Feiju got to be careful, though, under pressure himself.
Huge kills, and maybe another one for Mingwei. This should be a very clean finish onto John. Taking out Lumine would be massive, but Lumine is just so mobile, using the energy economy to constantly stay away from Mingwei. Big threat on the Panther, and it'll mean that in this time, Tai lose Akamane, and MDY, still at a numbers disadvantage, are going to resolve that in 4 seconds as they get a respawn on Feiju.
Kuku sniping in from the high ground here on Aquila. Has a few targets with no armor. Opportunity to burst kills. But MDY has dropped a couple players themselves. Mingwei finally does shut down the enemy Inferno. So it's an even trade with low numbers. Big opportunity for both teams to potentially secure a key advantage here in Cape Blanc Observatory.
This time it's not traded 1-for-1, so we are back to just having 1 Korat extractor left. Remember, we saw this yesterday. If one's left up for long enough, they will disappear, but that doesn't seem to be a problem when Feiju's in the lobby.
Grab.
Very objective-minded.
Yeah, he's been very focused attempting these objectives all game long, and it's really starting to pay off. The Stego fighting in the gas, but quite low, definitely vulnerable, and is going to get picked off with the help of Jamran. Now MDY, +1 power play, enemy Stego down. There's a real window to continue to push the advantage. Narukami sniping from range, though, a real thorn in the side of MDY right now. But Feiju is just charging in here onto the enemy Tricera, and there's no Stego to help defend this Tricera. Opportunity here for MDY. They want to keep the pressure on. They want to keep staggering these respawns to take a decisive lead here in the map. Some objectives coming up very, very soon, so a kill at this moment would be devastating.
We may not be able to hear the comms, but just watching how Feiju is playing, I can imagine how they sound. This is a Welkin that is calming, and staying in control of the map and of his teammates as well. keeping MDY all on the same page, something that they were unable to do in the later stages up against Reject yesterday. Now we're seeing that big comeback, playstyle adaptation, and Akamane getting trapped inside his own Welkin box is going to encounter a few issues. Now starting to trade back, keeping this Corite Extractor from being captured. But we've got 2 available once again, with MDY back in the lead. Can Ty even things up?
2 big pickoffs, damage being poured in. Ty really struggling to stay alive at this moment. Feiju, low HP, but continuing to fight aggressively. Extractor dismantled as well in the chaos for MDY. These pickoffs are really starting to bite Ty right now. Struggling to stay alive, contest objectives. Mingyue wants to find even more cleanups. Charging forward onto a low enemy Lumine, and the Lumine is exactly the player you want to stay alive, but no,
nice.
Can't escape with the help of Cuckoo sniping it down. And Feiju, we've seen how aggressive he's been previously. Looking forward, but staying objective-minded here. Clears an Arakami drone. Looking for his next target.
When you've got Panther and a kill on you, there's just not a lot you can do. Akamane kiting back along with Rokoku, very low and with no source of healing in the area. It's going to give plenty of room over to MDY, with Welkin fully disengaging and now going down as Akamane shows up in the kill feed. It is 6-3, and MDY have taken a significant lead in this game.
Yeah, Team Thai Clan are getting routed at this moment. I mean, so many low players, the last 2 alive, struggling, 3 alive, 1 almost being picked off. And MDY are just bloodthirsty right now. They know they have a huge player advantage. They can continue to push the tempo. Lumine dashing out of trouble. Very hard to pick off, but the rest of the squad is just unable to fight. Objectives are essentially free right now for MDY as they're headed over to attempt this cap with Jamren.
And that's worth 2 points. This is completely uncontested. That's going to be the first round win for MDY. Taking control in the mid-game of Cape Blanc. This looked really close between they and Ty, but once those picks started getting rolling, once we got Cuckoo and Mingyue on the same page, these picks were very forthcoming.
Yeah, I felt like the trades were pretty decisively going the way of MDY in a lot of those big contested fights, which I think bodes well for them. That's kind of like the key factor in a lot of these games is who can win those main group fights more dominantly, who can, secure the kills that allow you to transition to the objective. So Thai Clan, back to the drawing board now. It's their opportunity to pick a map. Curious to see where they take us, where they feel most confident here with. This is their tournament life on the line, right? This is your last chance to fight back and to secure a map win here at the Mecha Break Global Pre-Launch Invitational.
I'm curious, because I know that Ty have a Falcon player, whether knowing that that's not going to be a ban in the next map, whether they choose to go to something maybe a little bit more wide open, like Eye of Mizra, that could be good. Krob Sinkle as well, I keep alternating between those, is going to be another good option, especially if you're somebody who feels like, or a team that feels like you can spread out and actually take a win up against MDY.
This is the point, right, in the tournament where you gotta stick to your guns, I think, and go with players' comfort, what they feel most confident on. With your tournament life on the line, you gotta just take us to what you're most confident showing on, where you can bring it out. And Team Thai Clan, I mean, they were having a lot of fun. They were laughing, enjoying themselves in the pregame, but it was MDY with the focus, the intensity, that so far have a pretty clear advantage here in the series, up 1-0. And this is a best of 3, so not many chances to bring it back here for Thai Clan. In fact, just 1.
And I'm going to throw this out there while we're thinking about what Ty will end up doing in the next round. No matter what map they pick, I think you're banning Panther, because I watched a Lumine get 0 value for about 60 seconds because Panther just doesn't let you rest, doesn't let you heal your teammates.
Yeah, and all that pressure from the Panther, the rest of the team is capitalizing. They're continuing to pour the damage on. They need those heals, but maybe you can't quite get that done under pressure. So Panther, has been a striker that was really, I think, unpopular. We talked about going into the tournament. Some of these strikers, people think, oh, maybe that doesn't work. There's no way to make that strategy viable. But, I think thanks to some of the top teams really showing, there's another way to play. There's another way to approach the game. And they've been looking pretty solid on it. So I'm curious to see if that Panther ban does come out. I think that's a good call out. It could be something that Thai Clan can use to just stabilize the game, right? The pressure that Panther puts on you can be overwhelming.
Yeah, and Panther is deceptively, despite how squishy the actual striker is, got a lot of survivability. Even inside of a Welkin box, if you do manage to land that, you're trying to peel for your Lumine, you're not necessarily going to take Panther out every time. It can feel almost like taking out a Tricera, but a Tricera that somehow moves at light speed. Yeah,
the mobility for Panther, I think it really is the key for those top pilots. They're able to get the most out of that kit, hitting you from the flanks, from being annoying, but you can't quite turn and catch them and punish them. And that's a challenge playing against the top Panther. And Mingyue looked great on it in this map. I wonder if that's going to be something they're going to be able to continue to leverage. I think it's also quite map specific. Some maps I feel Panther not as effective. Others looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see where we're going to go next. TyClan is there. Ball's in their court. Where would you take us map-wise if it were you?
I think I'd probably go Eye of Mizra just because assuming that the Panther ban is going to come through or the Aquila ban is going to come through, both of which are pretty good possibilities, you can get good value with the other on that map and not worry too much. That's at least what I'm thinking. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. Maybe take us to like something like, could go for like a Palm Bay and just simplify the game a lot and make it really focused on just like one main group. What I'm worried about though is actually the Aquila. I mean, it was essentially Team TyClan. They were like, you know what, you can have the Aquila. We're gonna have the Narukami.
Yeah.
We just believe we can win that matchup. But it really went against them on maybe one of the better sniper maps in the game.
Yeah.
Right? On Cape Blanc Observatory, where it's just very wide open. There's all those big hilltops where the snipers can really start to poke away at you. And I feel Aquila was decisively stronger in that last match. And so I wonder, will Narukami continue to be the pick for TyClan, or will that end up being a liability for them?
You know, I was talking to some of the players about this earlier as well, because I feel that there is a large difference between Aquila and Narukami in the sense of how they're meant to be played. I think Narukami has to be a little bit more flexible and does have to group in with the team quite a bit more than Aquila does, where you always want to be quite far away. And some of the players were speaking about that very same, I guess, emotion feeling about the striker, and yet also acknowledging that Aquila is simply much more consistent. So Rikoku picking this, while I do love that we saw it because I want to see some Narukami one-tricks out here, I think has to go back to the drawing board and go, well, this may have been my pick. It may have even worked kind of well, but it's just not as good as an Aquila right now.
Feiju, big performance in that last map, but wow, look at that damage stat from DJ Catlink. 3 million damage on the Stego, and the counterpart Gyan is only over 1 million. That's a ridiculous damage cap for the Stego, and I think that is potentially a real strong sign here for MDY that they're dominating in those main group tank trades so effectively. I think you got to give a lot of credit to DJ Catlink's Stego. I mean, a damage difference like that is really challenging to overcome no matter what map we go to.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at this, no surprise.
Yeah.
We've all played with Riv. We know what happens when a Welkin boxes and caps the objective. That Welkin walks away with MVP.
Yeah, and Feiju, I think, was willing to put his life on the line in a lot of circumstances in that last match. Willing, even when he's low, you know, he's willing to go for plays, willing to put a lot of pressure on the enemy and play that objective when he knows his team has the edge. So props to Feiju, doing his job in the team, understanding his role here as we take a look at some of the highlights.
And these highlights, honestly, going to be featuring a lot of Feiju because of that. It's he and Mingyue that were really putting pressure as melees onto the other strikers, and it's a big deal when you're able to play a melee striker so effectively because of the panic that it instills in others, especially when it's somebody like Welkin, who not only has the stagger inherent on melee attacks, but the ability to flash you as well and disorient the heck out of anyone in his face. It was a really good game played by both Feiju and Mingyue. I'd extend that to the whole of MDY, even though we were very much focusing on the melee players.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if we can get some more of that Stego cam. I want to see what DJ Catlink is pulling to triple the damage of the enemy Stego. I mean, that's one of the biggest gaps I've seen on Stego the entire tournament. So it's going to be a really tough spot for TyClan if they can't figure out how to win that main group trade. We are going to Palm Bay Harbor, so it is a double down on the main group, right? We've seen a lot of teams go for these like ultra heavy drafts here with 4 ultra heavies. We've seen, you know, Hurricane, Stego, Tricera, Welkin as well, just fully stacked up and playing the objective. And honestly, if MDY, if they're winning the Stego trade like that, I feel like they're going to feel really good going to this map.
Yeah, I don't think Palm Bay Harbor solves a lot of your problems. However, the really good news is that for Team Ty, they're playing on red side, and red side does have, as we've seen during this tournament, the definitive advantage at the start of the match, being able to jump up onto ultimate high ground and access that before the blue side can. So maybe that's the advantage that they're relying on to win this game. Nice Panther ban. I think we saw that coming.
They were thinking about the Stego ban. Honestly, I think they should have banned Stego based on, after seeing the stats, the gap was so ridiculous in the last map. I feel like maybe they needed to ban Stego. But the Hurricane ban does kind of open up a slot in the sort of meta draft we've seen develop on Palm Bay with the ultra heavy style. So without the Hurricane, I mean, you have maybe a little bit more option to play something aggressive, something fast paced.
Yeah, Rikoku picking up a Listney's here. I was wondering what was going to happen to that former Narukami. Not going to go with it this time, and instead double down on the melees, maybe being able to match what you saw from Mingyue last game, who this time is also going to be playing a Listney's. So just a harsh skill check between Rikoku and Mingyue.
Have to see who can come out on top. Cive also going for the Inferno here. we've seen, I think, Inferno potentially struggle on this map due to just how close quarters it is and how difficult it is to stay alive on some of these strikers with less survivability. So I'm curious to see if Zhuhai can stay alive and actually put the damage down on this map. There won't be a Panther chasing him around, which does help.
I'm also noticing that there is no Falcon for Team Tai, but there is an Aquila on the other side for MDY. Having a Aquila that isn't going to be hounded by a flyer puts a lot of pressure on your Alisnes to do that job, and it's a job that Alisnes does only half as well.
Yeah, definitely lacks some of the mobility to get at an Aquila playing up in the skybox. It's Team Tai, they're going to have to show us what they prepared here. Their tournament life is on the line here on this map of Palm Bay Harbor.
I did not think Kuku played poorly on Aquila, so...
Yeah, Kuku was a real shooter in the last map.
I would call this a gamble. I would call this a gamble. You're saying you're not going to get nearly as much value off the point as we're going to get on it, and I don't know if that's true. Now, I will say, to their credit, some of the most damage in the game can come from Inferno, and Tai have at least chosen to pick that up. So in close quarters, especially indoors on point B of Palm Bay, this could be where you really pull ahead.
Definitely have my eyes on the stay-go battle here. Main tank trades, I think, are going to be pretty impactful on Palm Bay. You've got to be able to win this main group fight. You've got to be able to capture these key objectives. Teams splitting up. High ground being taken right now for Team MDY. Team Tai electing in the red here, electing to play the low ground, play near the point, but that gives a lot of space for Team MDY to work with. So they start to flank, take the different angles, and Feiju, oh, he's just pumping damage in from the high ground.
I dare say, given what we've seen so far, this play from Team Tai is a mistake. Moving down into the low ground like this, we've seen how it can be outplayed, outmaneuvered. And Feiju already putting a lot of pressure in, does get boxed in, maybe taken down for a little bit of over-aggression, but gets some heals in time, and continues to dip and dive around the rest of Tai. No kills on either side, but with MDY having the high ground and plenty of ability to rain down fire, I'm seeing those stego damage numbers tick up.
Yeah, the point's about to open very soon. MDY has dropped to the low ground. They've continued to pour on the pressure. Team Tai are going to make their move towards the point, but they've got to get on it. They've got to contest it, and Tricera is just eating good right now, pumping damage into anyone who dares enter and contest. Feiju dropping a box as well to disrupt. Mingyue in on the Ulisness. Diving in, disrupting, making it very, very difficult for Team Tai to walk up. The point's still under pressure, though. Team Tai, they have no opportunity to back up. They've got to stay in this engagement. Stego's pumping damage on one another. Tai Clan players dropping very, very low. But MDY, they're still under contest here. This is not easy by any means. Feiju is getting a ton of pressure every time he goes in for a play.
Getting pretty low on Tai, though, and that's going to be our first elimination. Unfortunately, Prize goes down, and that is on the Tricera, so not going to have the ability to trade anything back, and you're losing a lot of tank ability. MDY should be able to cap this point, no problem now, and then start moving their payload on forward.
And Feiju is just really pushing the limit on this Welkin, getting so aggressive, at times dropping low, but so far it hasn't been an overextension. He's been taking a ton of attention, making space and time for the rest of his allies.
Airdrop armor kit for Mingyue. That's going to put that back on cooldown, so maybe extending the life of an Alisnes in the long run. Since you knew you've got to reset, start burning some of those 3 minutes away. I'm going to draw your attention as well to the fact that we have seen lasers fly across the sky. You may not be seeing Kuku on screen, but make no mistake, Kuku is contributing heavily to a lot of these fights. Another laser from off screen. Nice parry, however, out of Prize, as they do re-enter the fight.
Mingyue really risking his life here. Continuing to fight. Feiju trying to roll that enemy cart back. Has he finally gone too far? Seems like he's able to have just an energy to get out of this scenario. Still tanking with the armor, still pumping damage, and the advantage has really started to compound here for Team MDY. They're continuing to harass their opponent's cart position while capturing their own. Really expanding the lead here.
And given how well the healing is going for MDY, there's no problem with Feiju taking this more aggressive position, because every bit of pressure you put back on their cart means that they're not able to invest in yours. 32 to 16%, double the progress for MDY, and point B is about to come into play. Something that MDY already have priority on, and indoors should be able to dominate.
Yeah, they're really happy to play this position. Point's about to open, and Tai Clan aren't really in a position to be ready to contest. Feiju taking the aggression to the opponents. Tai going over the top, though. They're going to make a desperate last-second contest. Going to try to dive through and continue the objective on the point. So they're going to go for this, attempting it with all their resources.
MDY going to be popped into Baby Elysnes pretty soon. And there's so many shields, so much utility being dumped on the point that I have to agree. Spin to win seems like the pet play, and Feiju is going to get a lot of damage out of this. Nobody on Tai going down just yet, although Akamane is sitting at around half HP right now. You're expecting to see things like Lumine dump their haze all over this point, keeping everyone alive, but even that may not be enough as the pressure is pushing Tai back off the point. There aren't a lot of eliminations going down, but with just the single one that MDY were able to accomplish, they've now got the point, they've got their payload accelerated, and it's back to the drawing board for Team Tai.
Yeah, and it's starting to look like a potential cleanup here. Tai Clan have dropped 3 members. The last 3 desperately trying to escape, trying to get out of this, but Akamane so low. Feiju on top of him gets the cleanup with the help of Jamran, and only 3 players alive for Tai Clan. They're struggling. Can't even continue their own objective progress here. Potentially some reverse cap going in.
It's going.
The expansion is, the lead is getting really out of control here for Team MDY. They're capturing both carts at once, turning this lead into something that it's getting insurmountable here. Tai Clan, their tournament life flashes before their eyes right now.
Yeah, you know the game is getting out of hand when your cart is getting reversed and when there's a stego on it. I think at this point, you let that go and you start getting aggressive on MDY. Start committing to their cart. See if you can make a numbers advantage turn into something even greater. Feiju, though, continuing to slam. I keep hearing in my head, come on and slam and welcome to the jam whenever Feiju's on my screen.
Look at him go. Big slams on Cive, who's getting just crushed. This Inferno struggling to deal the damage under tons of pressure from the Welkin. And Feiju has been just a thorn in the side of Tai Clan all game long.
And back on over, Feiju incredibly survivable and great coordination with the Lumine just to make sure that Feiju is being able to be so aggressive. You'll see that a lot of times with Panaka, who can provide so much more tankiness, but this is a big play. That is 2 kills picked up by Xian onto MDY, and maybe, just maybe, the chance for Tai to get back into this thing.
Mingwei fighting it out in the Elise Nest, diving in, would love to continue this aggression, make some trades back the way of MDY. Their 2 next spawners are coming up very soon. They do have a massive lead here on the payload. DJ Catlink, though, under pressure, lacking a ton of support, is going to have to fall back, unable to continue this objective. And the next capture point is about to open. This is a crucial moment in the fight. DJ Catlink pops the smoke, though. Should be enough to stabilize just a little bit here as he regroups with his Tricera on the point.
And despite those 2 kills that were so sudden, so well done by Tai, they're not able to capitalize on the momentum that gave them. We're still seeing MDY push their own cart. Nobody is playing on Tai's. Nobody's able to accelerate that, and rightly so, because you had a point to capture just now available. Point C has become the focus, and Civ A is getting a lot of really good value out of Inferno. Feiju's going to go down, and this is again the chance for Tai to turn around Palm Bay Harbor.
They need to make it happen right here, right now. Tournament life on the line. They're pressuring the cap. It's very close, but Cuckoo find 2 picks of their own. Tai Clan staggered, stumbling here at the finish line. The Elise Nest second life keeps them in this engagement. MDY, their next spawner, coming up very soon. Massive pressure on Tricera, extremely low. Mingwei, with the help of DJ Catlink, gets that cleanup. And this may be too little, too late for Tai Clan. Facing elimination, Mingwei wants to hammer in that final nail in the coffin. Another pickoff onto Cive. The Inferno put big damage in that fight, but wasn't able to escape.
75-48, and Tai with no pressure, no presence on either objective. MDY continue to rocket on ahead, and this is one of the further games, one of the best games that MDY could have wished for, but it's the one that Tai opted into.
Feiju, he's been aggressive all game long, really keeping the pressure on Gian, and this Stego is unable to really get in and make that AoE contribution to the team fight that he would like. Under pressure from the Welkin, it's potentially a scary place to be as this Battle Axe is hitting through the fluid armor, starting to chip at that core HP. Gian needs some support from the squad here. He's trying to take this out in a 1v1, but I think it's slowly going against him, especially now with the enemy Lumine coming in, gassing Gian. He's forced to just full back, full retreat, but so low on the main HP bar. Akamane, though, finds DJ Catlink in the in-between, so MDY splitting maybe a little bit too much here. They are able to get the cleanup onto Gian.
I'm loving what we see out of LDQ UQ though. That on Lumine, much like I'd say of Cuckoo this round, off screen most of the time, contributing some of the most to the team, keeping everyone, especially Feiju, alive, safe, and contributing a lot of damage as well. We're seeing a very active form of Lumine come out because MDY have so much wiggle room to work with. Now, I will say, MDY's payload is starting to get reversed. We've seen a small win from Tai, and they're going to have to commit, I say, MDY back onto this point to get themselves moving again.
DJ Catling finds one, and the second member, a third member now of Tai Clan are falling. Akame trying to hold on to this, but Fluid Armor dropping low under massive pressure. Civ A trying to deal the damage, but the tanks, they're nowhere to be seen. MDY desperately trying to keep DJ Catling alive. At least they do find the Stego pickoff, but now 5 members of Tai Clan down, 1 single member, Gyan, trying to fight this out on the Stego, but 5v1, surely this is too much, even for the Stego.
Yeah, Stego's real job is to stall right now, and that at least they're able to do partially with the jamming haze, but there's not much else you can do at this point, as Jan will end up going down. They've traded out 1 for DJ Catlink, who's just now respawned, and MDY will be coasting their way into the finish line shortly. It's a matter of taking out the tanks in their way, continuing the stagger, keeping Tai at a disadvantage, as MDY have done so well this whole map.
Tai Clan, though, they have capped the enemy cart. They're starting to roll it backwards. They're keeping this at least possible, making it interesting, acquitting themselves well here.
Feiju's down.
As they fight it out. Civ A finds Feiju.
Is it happening?
Hold on. And with the cart control, with that Tricera, things are getting sketchy here for MDY. They thought they had it in the bag, maybe overconfident, let their cart cap go against them. And Akamane's starting to clean up here. Trades, though, going both ways. Tai Clan have some very long respawns, and they have to be clean here. They must win decisively in this fight.
That is so much damage pumped out of an Inferno in so little time. Cuckoo still raining down a lot of damage themselves, keeping MDY at a health advantage when they eventually respawn. Cuckoo being focused, though, could be a problem. If Cuckoo goes down, watch the shot from Civ A.
Under
this
pressure.
Could change everything. Cuckoo's down.
Bursted. And the car continuing to roll backwards. Hold on. This is getting interesting. MDY have 2 members down. This is an opening for Tai Clan. They have to stay alive, though. Hold on. Gyan, he's the one holding down that objective. Crucial player to stay alive. Mingyue pumping in damage from above, continuing the pressure on, slamming it down with this Elise Nest. But Tai Clan are resisting. They're holding on here. With their backs against the wall, they found some kind of purchase here in the series.
That's 2.
Uh-oh, though. Starting to tilt against them now. MDY found the pickoffs.
And with John down, that means no Stego for the side of Tai. No stall on the payload. And MDY should be able to turn this around once more. Tai made this very close, but now, with 4 people down, it's just Akame and John left to try and disrupt, and I say that's just John now. Feiju even trading the favor back, reversing the enemy payload a little bit more, keeping MDY in the lead, and that's going to be 100 to barely 80 out of Tai, as Tai will unfortunately be eliminated as of this round.
You got to put some respect there on what Tai Clan were able to accomplish. They made that interesting. It looked really desperate for them at the start of Palm Bay Harbor, but they showed why they picked it. They continued to fight out well, even in the final moments when most teams, I think, would crumble under that kind of pressure. So props to Tai Clan for making this so interesting in the final moments of that match.
Yeah, I mean, great commitment out of them, and like you said, being mentally on the same page, being able to coordinate even in what was such a chaotic start to the map, a map that they selected. I think Tai managed to keep their heads on straight and had a really good strategic approach to this game. They weren't so focused on their payload. They kind of let that do its thing and managed to, in the final stretch, do quite a bit of work. I will say, not being able to address Cuckoo, though, a big compositional problem for them that ultimately bit them in the behind.
Yeah, Cuckoo was just pumping damage throughout all those team fights. Such a key member there for MDY. And this is goodbye now to the first team of the tournament. Tai Clan kind of have to send them home. I'll be remembering this match, though. They fought well. They fought proudly here. You know, especially with their backs against the wall and feeling like maybe the tournament's slipping out of your hands. I think a lot of teams would have crumbled. They wouldn't have been able to put up such a big fight in those crucial last moments.
And I think with a performance like this, you can be very, very proud of what you showed here. Tai have worked very hard, and they managed to, as individual pilots and as a team, I think show what the peak of Mecha Break can look like, at least at this point. It is just the pre-launch invitational, of course, but seeing Tai and many other teams develop in such a short amount of time, I'm happy that we got to see Tai really play the game, because they played up against Luna Break yesterday, and this was a much better showing.
Yeah, Team MDY, though, they get the win. They progress. They maintain their tournament lives here. And both of these teams, as we said, you know, they had a tough first day, but it feels like MDY still has something to play for here, right? They're still a strong team, still keeping the hope alive here for Chinese teams in the Mecha Break Global Pre-Launch Invitational. Thai Clan gonna have to bid them for well. I'm curious though, MVP-wise, what do you got in this match? It was so chaotic. I feel like it's really hard to call.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Feiju's play, but I think that given the stats, it's probably going to be Cuckoo.
Cuckoo, yeah, I think that's a good call out. They kill it, getting a lot done. It's hard to say though, because on Palm Bay, I feel like, you know, you can also really give a lot of credit to those just like constantly pushing the objective, whether that's Tricera or Stego often, you know, setting up camp on cart. So I think this is hard to call. I'm probably leaning towards the tanks. The objective, I think, is really weighted in that MVP stat, but I think you're probably right that like Cuckoo had so much impact on this game. We didn't see him so much, but I really think he is being felt by the opponents. Thai Clan really under pressure of that sniper.
Yeah, and if that last 2-3 minutes hadn't gone the way it did, if Thai hadn't been able to cap the point, I'd probably give it to LDQUQ, who was everywhere, on the point, off the point. I feel like just in terms of participation in every single part of the map, LDQUQ was crushing it.
Yeah, big element in the team is being able to stay alive and continue to just have that consistent pressure, consistent focus under all the enemy fire, you know, to be able to stay alive and evade all of that is a key attribute there for MDY, something that propelled them partially at least to their success in this game. Statistically though, I feel like I'm just shocked by the Stego stat difference on map 1. Like we need to check on that. I mean, Gyan was under a ton of pressure. I feel like he was really being targeted by MDY. They were very aware of how important it is to keep that enemy Stego down. But I felt DJ Khaled was really profiting off of that, right? Able to deliver a lot of damage down range, really having a lot of impact, winning crucially those capture points on Palm Bay, right? It feels like the payload push is important. It's something you got to, you know, consistently put the work in. But if you're winning those capture points, you're just getting catapulted so far ahead time after time.
And I think that while we're talking about it, I'd be comfortable giving Gyan the SVP. I know that's not something that we really talk about, but he opened up in the mid game a really good opportunity for Thai to retake the lead. Well, it didn't happen. Was also able to do it in the later stage of the game when we got to that 90% mark, stalling things out as the sole member left. It was a really, really good game out of Gyan. Right now, taking a look at the stats. Let's see what those Stego damage numbers look like, shall we?
Pretty monstrous. Almost another 3 million. So ridiculous game from DJ Catling, pumping huge damage. More than 500,000 direct damage. Taking 1.6 himself under a lot of pressure from the squad. So, you know, that's LDQUQ there with over 1 million repair. That's a pretty massive repair game to drop 1 million.
Yeah.
Wild.
I mean, very, very active. LDQUQ, definitely a Lumine player to look at if you're interested in what the peak of playing this striker can look like. LDQUQ is one of the Lumines that we have in this tournament that also alternates very frequently between the different forms that Lumine can have, going both offensive and defensive in terms of the healing and damage that Lumine can provide, when often I think we see a lot of Lumines simply because it's safer just staying in the healing form the whole time.
Yeah. You know, I think that's a big difference in the top Lumines, their ability to hit that extra little bit of damage that can make a difference. Mingyue.
Interesting. On Elise needs.
Okay. Pumping damage.
Did do a lot of damage. Did contribute a lot.